Hello, it is the video. This is part 3. If you haven't seen part 1 or part 2, they are in the card above. Where's the card above? Is it over here? I think it's over here. Look, it's Grace Alberti wearing the corset blanc.
That was crafted!
This is a video about how to craft it. If you watch part 2, you know how to make the pattern, and you've made a pattern. Aww. And now it's part 3, and this is how to make it.
Ooh.
Okay, bye!
Bye!
I began with these materials. You can check out part 1 of this series for some common corset colors broken down by region and class, so you can pick an outer fabric to suit your impression. I'm beginning by tracing my pattern pieces onto the outer fabric. I'm cutting out both front pieces and both back pieces together so it's symmetrical. I leave a seam allowance at the center front, side seams, and back seam, as well as where the strap meets the top of the back piece, but the rest doesn't need a seam allowance because the tabs, neck hole, and armhole will be bound with tape. Next, I cut out 4 more pieces from the heavy linen lining fabric, but I don't include the shoulder strap this time. Once I have the outer fabric and lining both cut out, I cut between the tabs, but I keep the pieces together with pins. Now I'm creasing the seam allowances inward at the center front, side seams, and back seam. I only turn it over once because I'm going to be sewing the layers together and we don't want it to be bulky. Once they're folded, I'm finishing the edges of these pieces using the stitch called the point à rebattre sous la main, of which the period name in English seems to have been lost. But this is a really common stitch, so you probably know what I'm talking about if you've made 18th century clothing before. With these edges finished, I'm now using a whip stitch to join the 4 pieces. Next, I'm cutting the boning. With artificial whalebone, I found the only way I can cut it is with kitchen scissors, and then I'm using a nail file to smooth the cut edges a little bit. At either side of my front pieces, I draw a line to accommodate the width of the boning, and now I'm making a channel along that line using a closely spaced back stitch. When this is finished, I slide both pieces of boning into their respective channels. Now I'm going to move on to lining the straps. For this, I use my lighter weight linen instead of the heavy lining that I use on the body, because the straps don't need quite as much stiffness as the body. I finished the front part of the strap lining with a whip stitch that catches only the body lining fabric. The back end of the strap is a little more fiddly because in addition to lining, we also have to join it to the back piece. First, I pin the seam allowance together on just the outer fabric, and I join them with a spaced back stitch. Then I crease open the seam allowance so it lies flat, and I lay the body lining and then the strap lining over the seam. I fold under the edge of the strap lining and whip stitch it to the body lining, same as on the front end of the strap. This is the corset constructed so far. So now it's time for the eyelets. I've marked my eyelets along the center front opening, there are 18 on the front, and I've offset them for spiral lacing. So let's go. And here it is with the eyelets finished. If you're making the corset for yourself, you'll be able to try it on at this point. Now let's go on a little tangent. If you have tape that matches your fabric already, or you want to contrast on purpose, you can skip this step. But I wanted to document every step that I went through on this project, so here we go.
It said to do this. Show what it looks like right now.
Now the tape has dried, so I'm ironing it out, and then let's move on to the binding. I'm beginning with the armholes here. I pin the binding around the outside of the hole and secure it with a tiny running stitch going all the way around. Then I fold over the binding to the inside, enclosing the raw edge, and I whip stitch the tape to the lining. When it gets to the curving parts, it can really help to pin the binding to the inside before you stitch it. And here's the first armhole bound. I will repeat this same process on the other armhole as well as the neck hole, and then finally the tabs. The tabs definitely take the longest and are the most difficult, but it's a great time to put on a show or a podcast, and it won't be too bad. Now, if you're doing a sleeveless corset, you're done. Congratulations. But me and Grace decided on detachable sleeves, so we're going to forge ahead. I based the sleeve pattern off my own corset sleeves, but adapted it to fit Grace's arm measurements. I'm also curving the top of the sleeve this time, which differs from my own sleeves, because I've examined more paintings since making mine, and it seems that the curved sleeve head was much more common during the 18th century. The sleeves will be lined with the same lightweight linen as the straps were, because we don't need as much structure here either. I've used this pinning trick with the sleeve and lining back to back, so I can sew the seam in one go, using a spaced backstitch. Then we can turn it inside out and the lining is already lined up inside the sleeve. Now I'm using the same binding technique to enclose both ends of each sleeve. Finally, to attach the sleeves, we need eyelets on the top of the sleeves and corresponding eyelets along the outside of the shoulder straps. I've gone with 5 eyelets on each, so 20 in total. And that's it. Let's see it in action.
What do I... Has it begun?
Yes.
Hi!
What's your major, Grace Alberti?
I'm a theater major! I don't have a basket and I'm upset about that because we are trying to mimic a painting and in the painting there is a basket.
Thank you. That's the right arm.
That she is holding like so that has eggs in it, but Yule doesn't want to give me any of their baskets, so unfortunately I cannot give you the performance I wish I could.
Thank you for following along with my Corset Blanc series. I hope it inspires you to make one if it's appropriate for your impression, and I hope it helps make the whole process a little less intimidating. It's certainly a big project. This one took me about 38 hours, but just take it one stitch at a time, and I'm sure you'll be happy that you did.
Perhaps you're watching the video and you're like, this does not apply to me. I do not do 18th century living history. You can also wear a corset blanc for Hopomonic activities.
Hopomonic activities! For costuming activities, for Renaissance fair activities, for cottage core activities.
So these are all reasons why you should make one, and now you know how. Goodbye!